Welcome back to another episode of Coldstream Rod Shop. I'm Derek Fraser. In the last episode, we worked on fixing the corners on the Moncton Coupe here and there, and we fixed some of the rain gutters. At the end of the video, I talked about making the deck lid rain gutter, the piece that goes from here to here. As I said before, I had an original one from the gentleman that owns the New York Coupe that I was going to use as a pattern. I started making the pattern. So if you want to come over to the bench over here, I'll show you how far I've gone so far and how I got to where I was. And right over here. So the piece I made last week was this. I started with a piece. I folded the edge up at a 90 degree on the break, and I laid out some of the stuff on it. So I started with this last week. What I've done since then, I've actually made one up, but it took making a couple mandrels in order to do that. So there's two mandrels that I used. So over here, I'm not sure if the camera lady can show or not, but this is a piece here. So I made a piece of flat bar, the shape of the bottom of it. It fits in here like this. And then what I do is I actually clamp it to the metal table here with C-clamps, and I'm going to bend everything up. Now, one thing that happened was when I bent this corner up here, it didn't stretch enough, so it actually split a little on my trial piece. What I've done for the next piece is that in these corners, I've actually pre-stretched the corner here. So it's split a little bit here, but the material is pre-stretched. I did that on the planishing hammer. I did this side as well. So what's going to happen there? That's going to aid me when I roll that up around the mandrel. So the next step on these other two pieces is to put the steel mandrel down, clamp it to the table, and bend everything up. There's a second step to forming this edge because, as you can see here, it comes up at a 90 degree, but it's curved and the edge is rolled over. So in order to form that rolled over edge, there's a second steel mandrel I made out of 1-inch angle iron, and it's got the shape that I need. So this piece goes in there after I fold this up, and then I hammer this edge over this one. So I'll probably set the camera up here and show some of what I'm doing as I form these next two pieces. And at the end of it, I should have two deck lid drip edges. here is the piece that you just saw me make. It's all dressed out right now. The edges deburred and whatnot. I still have a little bit of stretching there in that one corner, but I'll dress it out a little bit. The support corners fit in there like they're supposed to on both sides. And if we go over and we try it on the back of the 5 window, we'll see that it fits in there. So the next step on this 5 window is for me to remove the original one. There's a piece of sheet metal behind that most likely has to be replaced as well. So I'll cut that out, put it in, and install this. And then what I'll do is I'll make a second one of these for the New York Coupe. Before I put this in the Moncton Coupe, I decided I wanted to make these corner pieces here. So we already had made this piece, like I said, I was getting ready to put it in, but one of the pieces that I was missing for both of the 5 windows is this little piece here. Now that little piece there normally fits right up inside here, and inside of each one of those holes is like a little rubber bumper that the deck lid comes down on top of. So it's not an overly complicated piece. I thought about buying them, and then I realized here in Canada, if I go online and buy them, they're about $25 US a piece, so that's 50 bucks. In order to get them here, that's going to hit me around $125 or more. So although it's a simple piece, and you say, well, why don't you buy it? It's a little cost prohibitive. So I said, it's relatively simple to make, so let's make them. Now, like normal, I laid it out, and these two here are actually Brookvilles. They belong to my Roadster, or our Roadster here. I did the same thing as what I had done before. I laid out the pattern. I made a little wood buck, and then I cut a hole into it with a piece of dowel so that it wouldn't move around in the buck. So I've got a male and female piece. So same basic principle. Take the metal blank, put it in here, and then hammer the first edge over. And then the rest of it basically is bending on the brake this way. And then I actually brought it over to the vise and tipped the other edge over. So it's a relatively straightforward little piece. If the camera lady wants to come over here, you can probably see that here's the Brookvilles. I'll put the Brookvilles alongside of mine, and you really can't tell much the difference between any of them. So I made up enough pieces. I kept a spare pattern, and I kept a spare piece, so if I need to make them up again in the future, it's really not that hard. So made those pieces. Next, we're going to put the drip rail into the Moncton Coupe. As you saw, I just had to cut out the original drip rail. The piece that actually holds on to the drip rail underneath the lip here, the deck, it's shot. It really wasn't, there was nothing there I could do with it, so had to cut it out as well. So that's the old piece. And I've just right now welded in basically a piece of 18 gauge with a little bit of a 90-degree angle on it up on the top. This will now support the new drip edge. I also finally got around to putting this lower drip tray in. It's finally in place, completing the back of this. So I'm going to carry on installing this and welding this in place and wrap up this video. Here we are. I have the drip rail installed and the corner braces put in place. Basically, to install them, I just drilled 3/16 holes and clamped it in place and did little spot welds to mimic the way they were put together. It's welded from up underneath and here as well. So right now that's done. The next step is actually to go over and work on the New York Coupe and bring it up to the same place. Won't be able to do that on this video, but we'll do it and have it done either during the next video. So that's it for this week on the making and installing the upper deck lid drip tray, I guess if you want to call it. This piece here, as well as the corner pieces. Hope you enjoyed. Maybe inspired you to give yourself, do it yourself. If not, watch along and we'll keep on working on these cars. Please like, share, tag, and subscribe, and send me your comments. Everybody have a great week. Take care.